Hello, Year 8. Well, we're moving towards the end of term. Doesn't it seem strange we're in this odd period of having had some lessons at home, done some art at home, the weeks have gone by, and if this was school time, we would be coming into our final week and the final lessons before we start another project. Well, here we are. This is the odd situation we're in. Let's see how we get on next term. We may be back at school, we may not, in which case I'll have something else interesting for you to do if we're at home. But we should be at this kind of place. Let's cast our mind back to what we did last week. Do you remember we had the compass and the pencil, and just using this and a straight edge we managed to try and find all sorts of different shapes, and I left you at the last recording in a place where we were looking at the circles overlapping one another and then the lines that they made to make squares, and then I said let's then try and find what would happen if we went from various corners on these circles and the squares and tried to find new shapes within there. And I just left us with a few quick drawings done in felt tip pen to show the colour of the sort of thinking that I was finding within the geometry. Now it looks very confusing at the moment, and what I can do if I wanted to was take a rubber and get rid of lots of these pencil lines and and just leave some of the shapes that I found in there. So look, I found all of these different complex geometric shapes, from stars to hexagons. All this kind of thing exists within there. And the choice that we have to make now is to decide which ones we're going to use to make a beautiful pattern using colour. So let me show you what my thinking is, but yours doesn't have to be like this. Yours can be very different. What I've decided to do is think about this middle shape here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, an octagon. And in here I could simply just colour it in one colour and forget all of those mini ones in between. But I don't think I'm going to. What I'm going to do is do this all in different shades of brown. Now you might want to use pencils or felt tips or watercolours, I don't mind. But what I'm going to use is my trusty pen of watercolours, which I think you've seen me use before. It's got all these mucky old colours in, but I do love it and I've been using it for years and it works for me. So I'm going to use, I've got my water here in an old jam jar, and I'm going to use some of the browns. I'm still going to keep these internal shapes, but I'm going to do them all in different browns. I like browns. Some people think they're boring. I like autumn colours. So I'm going to do that one there. I'm still using the same brown. What do you think? And I can replicate that down below, can't I? I can have same brown down here. And these shapes here, here, and here, and here, I'm going to use a different brown. This brown we call yellow ochre. It's very similar in that it's an earth colour, but it's lighter. It's the colour of what we would call limestone, a certain type of stone that is used in the building of houses. And as the name suggests, it's a bit yellowy. yellow ochre. The first one I've used is called umber. All of these colours have special names. I don't expect you to remember them all, but because I'm an art teacher and because I've been doing art for a long time, I do remember them all. So at the moment we've used umber and ochre. And so we've made some nice shapes there. What shall we do in here? Lighter or darker? I think we might go darker. I think I'm going to try and find a very, very dark brown that we call Van Dyke brown. And I'm going to put that in these gaps here. So what I've done here is I've made the central part, the central octagon, still retain a sense of its own shape and identity, but I've used the internal marks to guide me into making a very pretty pattern. That pretty pattern has all been in browns, repeat patterns of browns. So just using the three browns, Van Dyke, ochre and umber, I've done this rather nice shape, and I'll blend those in a bit more, make it look really nice. And then I'll look at the whole larger octagon on the outside with 8 shapes and think, what might I do here? In all of these complicated shapes that get more and more complex and faceted all around the edge here, I could maybe choose another series of variations on a single colour and do that whole outer hexagon in variations on that outer colour. And I think I just might do that. I think I'm going to do all of those outer colours in red. But you're going to have a different take on this. You might want to do something completely different with yours. You might decide to ignore the hexagons. You might just decide to use the squares. You might just decide to use, let's call them the petal shapes that are in here. Well, they're all up for grabs in terms of designing and how we use colour to make this beautiful repeat pattern. So that's our lessons for this week as we finish off, and it will be really lovely to have a final piece at the end of this that goes from our very earliest one where we use the really simplified shapes and just use a few circles overlapping to this highly complex one. So I'll post again this week and put another lesson online, and by that time I'll have done the reds, and then I'll be thinking about the outer layers, and also I'll be writing something in the gaps here using the correct vocabulary to describe what we've done. And we can call that a really successful term's work. We've learned about Islamic art and geometry and how we can construct things by just using really a compass and a pencil, a straight edge and a few colours. Make something absolutely beautiful. I really hope you enjoy doing this. I find it very relaxing, very nice indeed, just to settle into a piece of work like this, put some music on maybe, and just enjoy the process of making something come alive from very simple means. And I hope you can do that too. Okay, Year 8, I hope you're staying safe, I hope you're all well, and I will speak to you in a few days' time as this becomes more complete. Take care.